Nick Gilbertson here with Breitbart News. I'm here with Dr. Ben Carson, who was the Secretary for Housing and Urban Development for President Donald Trump's first term. Dr. Carson, we're here at AmericaFest. So first and foremost, I want to ask, what is your message here at AmericaFest, and what is your message to everyone?
Well, my message is thank you to the American people for being smart enough to see through all the gaslighting that was going on and to recognize that we have something here that's worth fighting for. But this is not the end of the fight. This is the beginning of the fight. And we must be reasonable. We must be logical. And, we're tolerating all kinds of things, but we don't have to take crazy things and make them the center of our focus.
Absolutely. And Dr. Carson, we're fresh off a landslide, a mandate election, really. What do you think were the main changes that we saw in this election in terms of policy? And then what do you think is really driving that change in the American electorate?
I think we were fortunate to be able to see juxtaposed to each other the Biden philosophy and the Trump philosophy, or the Democratic philosophy and the Republican philosophy. And there was no big gap in between, so people didn't have to scratch their heads and try to remember stuff. I think that made a very big difference, because some of the things that the Democrats were proposing were sort of way off base. I was in Europe and I was asking a bunch of Europeans, what do you think of America? They said, we think you've lost your minds. Whereas what the Republicans were talking about is just common sense, straightforward common sense, not confusing kids about their gender, putting real education forward, utilizing our natural resources in a reasonable, logical way, punishing crime, having a solidified border. All those kinds of things are just logical things that you would do if you want to have a successful country.
Right. And so after this landslide election, and we see this giant realignment, undergoing and also really underway and nearly complete, I would say, what do you see for the trajectory of the nation moving forward over the next 4 years and the years to come after that?
Well, I'm very optimistic that Trump will be able to fulfill his promises. That will make a big difference. And we don't go back to policies that hurt the average American. Policies, energy policies, for instance, that drive the prices through the roof of energy, which then has a domino effect on food and housing and everything else. We don't need to be punishing our people. Those are self-inflicted injuries, and we just don't have to do that anymore. And I hope we will continue to just walk along the traditional path, use the same values and principles that we've always used. Our faith, our liberty, our community, our love for life, our love for each other. We're not enemies. And those are the things that propelled us from nowhere to the pinnacle of the world in record time. It was not a coincidence. And we need to go back and adhere to those values and principles that did it in the first place.
And Dr. Carson, you said something key there about energy. And I don't think most people understand how much energy factors into every facet of their life, everyday life, in terms of costs and everything. Could you just speak a little bit to that?
We are blessed with enormous amounts of fossil fuels, gas, liquid natural gas. We could easily be the supplier of the world for liquid natural gas. What that would do is it would decrease the influence and the monetary advantage that Putin has. And also we could do that to Iran. And we can make their oil less valuable, and we can put very heavy sanctions on them, put them back in the box where they were before.
And Dr. Carson, I know you're pressed on time, so one more here for you. Now Donald Trump's elected, and the future's looking bright for the conservative movement. What's next for the America Cornerstone Institute?
Well, American Cornerstone is growing extremely rapidly. We have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. The Little Patriots program is growing like crazy. Our American Story is growing. And I encourage people to go to AmericanCornerstone.org it's very entertaining, all the things that you'll find there, much more entertaining than HBO.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Carson, thank you so much for your time. I very appreciate it.